Hey y'all, hi, welcome back. Today I am going to be talking about some of my favorite book covers, which I'm excited to do. I feel like my lighting is off, I feel like I'm crooked, I don't know what's happening. There's a conversation around BookTube about book covers, and I want to talk to you about some of my favorite that I have. And then I had some intense deja vu, thinking I've probably told you all more than once about these books and about these book covers. But we're going to proceed as if I haven't. So, yes, let's just hang out and be together and talk about beautiful book covers. And also, most of these book covers are on books that I love, except one, a book I despise. Okay. All right, so let's just proceed. If you're new, my name is Shelley. I like to read. I like beautiful book covers, and if you're not subscribed, maybe consider doing so. Would love to hear from you. Maybe pop a comment down, and if you don't have anything to say, maybe an emoji, that would be nice. All right, without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I saw this particular conversation on Michael K. Vaughan's channel and on Steve Donahue's channel. And I think this thread of the conversation started somewhere else, though I can't remember where. So I will put credit where credit, leave credit where credit is due. In the description box in case you wanted to continue watching these kinds of videos and trace the conversation back. So, favorite book covers. We just show you book covers that we love with no particular reasoning. So, we're starting with some florals. I actually looked at all the books and I was like, I gravitate towards certain themes. So, the florals in The Glutton by A.K. Blakemore on this particular cover, they're set against this like black background, and the florals are all very moody, and so there's this like really rich mustard yellow and really deep greens, and at the very center there's this baby bird with its mouth open ready to feed, and the baby bird has transparent skin over its newborn body. And it's so tiny that it hasn't even sprouted sprouted feathers yet. There's like not a feather on this bird. And it is perfect for the actual contents of the book, which is very pleasing. This book in particular is about a mythical legend of a man who lived in France who ate beyond what any human could possibly consume. And so there's this like lore around this figure, and we're getting his story, the Glutton of Leon. And what's interesting is that I have said both on my channel and in my soul that I quite like the other cover for it, which I think is the UK edition, which is this illustration of a man whose mouth is open wide, and it says the Glutton, and the illustration looks very vintage, almost Victorian. And I just really love that cover. I think that is very striking. Though when I talk about beautiful covers, I cannot deny how beautiful this particular cover is. And really they made just really great choices on behalf of the story and what it represents. And actually the story itself is as moody as the cover would indicate. So I quite like that. It's just great. So the next floral book is one of the most special books I own because I don't tend to covet or want, like desire certain editions of books. I'm like showing it. I'm showing it right now. And I saw this very special, this is Picador Modern Classics, put out a line of miniature hardcover pocket paperbacks, which was so cool. There were, I think, 4 books, and of course it would have been very neat to have the whole selection, but really what struck me was this particular book because I had wanted to read it for years. And my husband bought this book for me, and I read this book, The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides, in this edition from this book. And it is just, on the cover are these roses. And I don't know, there's something about this covetable size. It's so small and pleasing to hold and just precious. I mean, it's so little compared to like another, this is the normal, like big paperback book. I don't want to say they're called, not the oversized. They're not oversized. They're just like your standard paperback book. I mean, it's just this tiny little thing. And I see it and it pleases me. And there's these, wonderful roses, pink roses in the background. It looks like a little bit of a diary almost. And again, it matches the contents of the book, which is about this chorus of young men who talk about these young ladies who were always mysteries to them in the neighborhood. The neighborhood boys are talking about these sisters that always just presented this mystery to them. And it's about the youth and being sort of lost in your youth and the mysteries of youth that oftentimes elude the young and adults. You sort of try and make sense of what happened in your teenage years, even though everybody is sort of wild and unknowable because they themselves don't even know their own selves. So how can you know another person if they themselves don't even know their own self, essentially? And it's about that sort of youthful longing to, like, I don't know, date someone else, by having a crush on them, that like sort of very youth-oriented, like, love, but also like unfulfilled desire. So it's very fitting that there are these very pink roses on the cover, and that it's just in this like very, I don't know, sort of cheeky size, that again sort of in some ways mimics like a little diary, because it would very, very much mirror some of the themes going on in the book. So there's that. Then we have illustrations, like sort of like somebody sat down and drew these covers and splashed paint on them, and I don't know, you really just made it beautiful. So when I think of beautiful covers, I actually think of a book that I cannot stand at all. Like, I don't understand why. No, that's too far to say. I don't understand why people like it. I understand why people like it. I just don't like this book. And it's not a favorite of mine. And it's The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And I love this orange cover with the bright yellow. It's very vintage looking. My copy is also kind of old. And there's this bright, the title's in bright yellow across the top. There is this the illustration of a horse and a city in the background. Again, it's very vintage looking. It's very vintage feeling. I love the choice of color. And I love that, there's like some, I guess, well, it's not quite negative space because there's nothing there, but there's this sort of plain space on the bottom where Salinger's name is, the chunk of orange that takes up 2/3 of the book, and then this like yellow splash of color along the top. And I just love this cover. Like, when I think about beautiful covers, I think about this. I do wish it wrapped all the way around, but it doesn't. And I just, this is what comes to mind when I think of like covetable like covers that are just juicy and delicious. Speaking of juicy and delicious covers, I love a naked hardback, and I have this one of Ariel by, it's a poetry collection by Sylvia Plath. Every single time I talk about this, I talk about how I haven't read it, and I still haven't rectified that. So this is a poetry collection by the Sylvia Plath. This is probably one of her most famous poetry collections. It has stunning end papers that mimics the illustrations on the outside, but in a maroon color. And the outside is this, it's just, I don't know, it's almost as if someone doodled. And in their doodles, they also did some painting. It's so, and maybe it's not paint. It's like paint. It's like doodles with a paintbrush. Is that a thing? Is that an actual thing? And that it came together, and it's not random, but it's not rigid. And so it has this really beautiful flow to it, and it wraps all the way around. And if you know me, I love bugs. And so there is a bug on the cover, and there are several bugs in the back. There are bugs on the end papers. And it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's so, so pretty. Again, I think this was a gift from my husband. It's so just gorgeous. I love it so much. Okay, then we're going to talk about faces. The first being, and I know that this book is like the most hated book on the internet, or the most loved. I mean, it's the most controversial book on the internet, I feel, and has been for some time. And it is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. She was very inspired. The author, this is what I've heard, is that she was very inspired by this photograph. It is now like a meme of itself. This is a photograph by Peter Hujar, I think. And he is an actual like artistic photographer. I think that sometimes when people see this, they think of somebody in agony or pain, and that is very much mimicked inside the book itself. The book is all about just like, it's very sorrowful, very painful, very sad book. I love the book. And this was sort of before I realized that it was an actual thing. And so anyways, but what this photograph actually is the point. What did they say in Buffy the Vampire Slayer? It's the moment of happiness, of true happiness. If you know what I mean. It is a moment in which there is a flood of pleasure. And that's what this photograph is, which I think like on an artistic, sort of intellectually artistic level is something. It's something to ponder. And then the fact that Hanya Yanagihara was really inspired by art and saw this photograph, I believe, and, wrote the story of A Little Life, I think being inspired by this photograph. So I don't know. I know again that it's like a meme of itself, but I think it's so interesting. And when I think of great book covers, I do think of this. So having said that, I don't know what that says about me, especially since I know the background of the photo itself. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, but let's just move on with faces. This is something that I quite like. It actually has it. I'm looking at my Hilary Mantel Bring Up the Bodies. It does this as well. This is Year of Wonders, and this is by Geraldine Brooks. This is a woman, it has the woman's half of her face, but this is what I like about it, is that it continues, and so as it sits on your shelf, you see part of her face. That is just a continuation, and then it also continues to the back. I really love that. I think that is such a simple, in some ways, very, very simple way to do a book cover, but incredibly pleasing as the owner of this book. I really just love this cover itself. I also really just love covers of portraits of women on the covers. Like, I don't know. I just have like, I think I have a soft spot for covers like that because I quite like the Dutch House Ann Patchett's book. I like the book itself, but I also really love the cover. It's striking, and I'll put a picture up because I loaned my copy out. Who knows if I shall ever see it again. Not that I mind. I just know that I might not, and that's okay. But I do love that cover. And this is, and that's just her portrait. This is the portrait, but with the foresight that, on your shelf, you could still see her, like, sort of somewhat somewhat looking at you, looking out at you. And this book is very much the strength of character of a young woman. The plague comes to visit a town in 1666, and the town is tiny, and so it could, really ravage the entire town. And it's in those sort of dark moments of life and death that you see people react. And you get this really strong, quiet main character that really is a force of will unto herself. And she's a really lovely person to follow as everyone else is losing their mind because something serious really is truly happening. And so you see her make hard decisions. And so it is a great book along with a great cover. And I like how dark it is and the contrast between the maroon background and her face. So this is a fantastic book. Okay, and then we're going to talk about penultimate books, which are children's books. The naked hardcover Bedtime for Bo. This is a Norwegian book, and I love the deep, dark covers, the colors. Actually, a lot of my favorites are these deep, dark, rich, beautiful colors, and I love that. And I love that it's a naked hardback. I just think it's so pretty, and the inside is Bo, and it's just a bedtime story. It's very sweet. I love how large this book is. Going back to like a normal size paperback, I guess. I mean, it's just a massive book. It's a massive book. But what I love about massive books is that when you're little and you're looking at it at the ages of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're looking at something that is larger than almost your entire body. And you're absorbing art at that scale for someone so tiny. And I love that. I think it makes art very real, very, very just stunning, I guess. And so I love that. And I love the naked hardcover because you can touch and feel some of the texture. Like Bo is more of a vinyl, sort of slippery plastic texture, and everything else is sort of that matted paper feeling. So, you can feel the embossing or the printing of the title. So it really makes reading a tactile experience, which I think is so fascinating, and especially for young people, where we would love for them, or at least I would love for them to love reading. And so this is like one of the books that I'm like, oh, if I was a kid looking at that, I would love that. And then probably my favorite book cover, this is close to one of my favorite, it's got to be one of my favorite children's books of all time, and it's King Bidgood's in the Bathtub. I have a little Caldecott sticker on it. And this is illustrated by Don Wood, and his wife Audrey Wood wrote it. And it's just, again, these deep, rich colors, and it tells a really cheeky, fun story, which is so cute and so silly. And the costumes are really ornate, and the colors are very vibrant, and you go through the whole day of this king who's unwilling to get out of the bath, and he would rather have everyone join him, no matter how silly, whether it be fishing in the bath, bringing the fish to the bathtub so that they can fish in the tub. I mean, it's ridiculous and silly and over the top and for kids, and it's great. And one of the things I love about this is that the page, who is always the one sort of cleaning up all of the king's mess, mimics the face of the page, looks a lot like the son of Don and Audrey Wood. Actually, I think they might have based the character, the features of the character on their it's which I thought was very precious. And so I really just love this book, and I've read it to tons and tons of kids. It's silly and wild. And the cover, I'm like, oh, I have to talk about King Bidgood's in the Bathtub. So that tis it. Let me know your favorite book covers down below, or if you have nothing to say, then that's okay. And that's okay. But regardless, I would just love to know that you were here. That would be great. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate you immensely. And I hope to see you all, hopefully, in my next one. Bye.